Miss USA and Miss Teen USA blocked me on Instagram, and we're definitely gonna talk about it. But before I get into the tea, let's discuss what actions like these against former title holders says about the state of an organization. Just to clarify, I'm not talking about Noelia and Uma Sophia's personal Instagram accounts. I'm talking about the official Miss USA and Miss Teen USA Instagram accounts. As a reminder, I think it's important to mention that the Miss Universe and Miss USA organizations are no stranger to scandal. Even in the past, when fire was raining down on the organizations and they were all in the press, Miss USA and Miss Universe still didn't even moderate their comments on social media. And that's why you'll hear a lot of formers talk about how they were bullied online. Most of that bullying has occurred on the Miss USA and Miss Universe social media platforms, because Miss USA and Miss Universe, up until now, has let everyone speak their mind and share their opinions about the organization and its title holders. And just to clarify, I have not been leaving mean comments on the Miss USA or Miss Teen USA Instagram accounts, which I can understand would warrant maybe being blocked. I know that the title holders read those comments, and I have zero desire in my heart to leave mean comments on official Instagram pages, let alone anybody's Instagram page. If you've been around here for a while, you know that I love pageantry and the opportunities that it provides for young women, and I care about organizations flourishing. I want to see the best for title holders, and I want to see the best for organizations. Personally, I come from a performance background, and I learned to take difficult constructive criticisms ever since I was a little girl. All of my dance, performing arts, and theater kids know that a lot of those public criticisms that are given in front of your class can be really difficult to swallow, but we also know that they come with the best of intentions from our teachers, coaches, mentors, and directors. It can be really uncomfortable to take these public criticisms in front of our peers. I understand that. I've been there. There's a lesson that my teachers and coaches taught me that I will never forget. I've applied this to every endeavor in my life. Just because it's not your feedback does not mean that it does not apply to you. It is possible to take your correction and the correction of others and apply it to yourself in order to improve and advance. These critiques are not done to you, they are done for you. And if you have that perspective, it makes it so easy to be able to discern between the truly constructive criticisms and then the people that are just online bullies. This mindset inspires my content. I like to critique and to praise organizations and contestants and all the people that it takes to put on a great pageant. I'm also very aware that those same people may be watching this channel, and I do my best to share my critiques and praises in a way that are phrased as if I were directly speaking to that person. I also understand that my channel is a public channel. Just as the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pages are, generally speaking, public pages. By nature of being a public figure or a public organization, we are all subjected to public criticism. It's unavoidable. I take all criticisms, both good and bad, with a grain of salt. And I know that if somebody leaves a comment or sends me a message that feels especially mean, that I shouldn't take it personally. Because that person most likely doesn't know me on a personal level. That's why they feel comfortable sending those mean messages. To them, it's not personal. Now, if somebody does know me on a personal level and sends a mean message, still in that same breath, I do my best not to take it personally because I know that this is a public channel. And really, to drive home my point, as a reminder, I create content on this channel like this.
I also want to mention that the show was sponsored by Old Navy, and no shade to Old Navy because my favorite pullover sweater is from you. But when we think of Miss America, the first thing that comes to mind shouldn't be Old Navy. It shouldn't. But actually, it makes sense this year because when I see this production, if I had to describe it in terms of a clothing brand, it would be Old Navy. Miss France Universe, Chanel, Dior, Versace. Miss America, Old Navy. Actually makes a lot of sense.
And I also create content like this. Miss America, you are receiving my award for Most Improved Pageant Production. Wow. Congratulations to Robin Fleming for beginning the turnaround, the transition of this formerly great organization. I can assure you I much prefer to praise an organization because I am a part of this pageant industry. So essentially I'm guilty by association, and I want to see pageants really, really flourish, because out in the everyday world, whenever people find out that I'm a part of pageantry, of course I hear the same stereotypical things about pageants that I know for myself are not true, and I'm constantly trying to fight against those stereotypes in my everyday life. So for that reason, I really, really do want to see every single organization flourish in its own niche. But when I see an organization become stagnant, or it starts to dip below industry standards, then it becomes something that I like to discuss on the channel. Oftentimes, if we discuss these things together, if we make organizations aware that we as fans and spectators and supporters and sponsors see what is going on in that organization, it often inspires great positive change. I also want to remind everybody, my episode, Where in the World is Miss USA, is not the first time that I have critiqued the Miss USA or Miss Universe organizations. I also did so during the IMG and Crystal Stewart eras. Now I have a few thoughts and questions to share with you as we get into what exactly happened from my knowledge, understanding, and perspective. I believe that what I'm about to share with you is relevant for potential contestants, fans, supporters, and sponsors. I'd also like to remind you of a few things. The Miss Universe organization states on their website, MUO empowers women to realize their ambition and build self-confidence as a catalyst for future success. The MUO community is a sisterhood that is committed to uplifting one another. Let's really dive into why you clicked on this episode and the timeline of how things unraveled. On February 3rd, I released the episode Where in the World is Miss USA. This was an episode that had been sitting on my back burner for a while. In December, I started receiving messages from fan pages and from different people asking me what in the world happened to Miss USA's social media, and I hadn't been following it that closely. People were asking me, have the social media pages been hacked because of the poor quality of posts that had been being made? Now, originally I wasn't even going to create an episode on this, but my tipping point was when I took to social media and I saw people kind of roasting Noelia and asking her why she hadn't been making appearances. And I was thinking, gosh, why hasn't she made these appearances? This just doesn't align with what I saw her doing after she won her state pageant or right after Miss USA, and I thought it was very out of character and very strange. But I also know that when you're a title holder in the USA organization, you're under contract and you can't speak out against the organization. You can't really say anything during your year of reign for good reason, right? Like, you don't want to make the organization look bad. So I knew that even if something was going on behind the scenes, that Noelia wouldn't be able to speak out about it. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have my channel. I am going to ask people to stop commenting on Noelia's post and asking her why she's not making an appearance, because I have the suspicion that Noelia's not making appearances not because she doesn't want to. So as a result, I took to social media for myself to see what everybody was talking about. I looked at the social media pages. I started looking at the images and making correlations between the images and the dates that we were seeing on social media. And from what I gathered, it appeared that she hadn't made an appearance since December 13th. Now we're into February at this point. Right now it is February 14th. And I knew that New York Fashion Week was coming up, and I had seen one thing that Noelia would be here for New York Fashion Week, but still I was like, gosh, December 13th to Fashion Week, which doesn't even start until February 9th or so, it all seemed really strange. The other thing I talked about in that episode is the fact that she has not yet moved into her Miss USA apartment. Now keep in mind, in the past and historically, Miss USA used to win the pageant and then next day she would be at that New York apartment. Now that changed during Crystal Stewart's era because no longer did she move to New York, she moved to LA, and it took a little bit longer securing that new apartment, and then obviously things kind of changed and went downhill with all of the scandals that were involved. So a lot of things that were out of the norm, but with this new leadership, we should have seen things get back on schedule. Noelia was crowned on September 28th, and she will crown her successor on August 4th, meaning that she's getting about 11 months of reign. So if you count, let's say she's crowned at the end of September, we have October, November, December, January, and now we're already halfway through February. So she's about halfway through her reign at this point, and she has not received her apartment, which is a huge part of the Miss USA prize package. And the other thing I didn't even realize in that other episode is that she still hasn't, as far as I know, received her Porsche from Porsche Downtown LA, which is a pageant sponsor. Now, these parts of her prize package were mentioned in the Miss USA Finals telecast. I understand a lot happens when there's a changing of the guard and that there may be reasonable delays. But now we're at that half point of her year of reign, and it just seems really strange to me and many others of you out there that she doesn't yet have her apartment, and now I guess she doesn't even have her car. And then tack that onto the fact that we never even saw her in January. Really strange. The day after my episode was posted, I received a text message from Lela Rose. At the time, I couldn't be 100% sure that the text message was about the episode that I just posted, but I felt like it was reasonable to assume so. After that, I received no reply, and I just went about my life because it was Fashion Week. It was extremely busy. It wasn't something I was really worried about. During Fashion Week, someone reached out to me and said, hey, I have been blocked on Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pages, and not only me, but several other people. And they asked, have you been blocked too? And I thought, gosh, I don't even know if I've been blocked because I don't really keep tabs on Miss USA and Miss Teen USA. I'm not checking their Instagram pages every single day. Frankly, I would not have even known I was blocked if it weren't for somebody messaging me, because I wouldn't have even taken the time to search those pages until I was doing prediction episodes for Miss USA 2024. Sure enough, I checked the Instagram pages and I was definitely blocked on both of them. I think it's important to note that there's only a few people in the world that have access to the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pages. So by process of elimination, I feel like you can make your own educated guess on who do you think blocked me from the Miss USA and Miss Teen USA pages. After I found out I was blocked on their social media pages, I asked myself a few questions. This is one question of many that I'll ask in this episode, and it's really something that I want you to think on and ask yourself as you draw your own conclusions from this episode. Does blocking a former title holder and representative of the Miss Universe organization align with the mission to empower women and of sisterhood? Additionally, I think it's important to mention that the new president and CEO of the organization, Lela Rose, said this during the Miss USA 2023 telecast. You can watch everything that was said on the Miss USA telecast, but I'm going to pull a few relevant sentences from this quote. We are going to continue growing these programs and championing these confident young women. We will inspire young leaders to go beyond their potential, push out of their comfort zones, and turn dreams into reality. Our goal is to inspire all women to explore their beliefs and continue to preserve integrity along the way. Change is inevitable for growth, success, and most definitely for development. When you take into consideration these quotes and things that are stated on the Miss Universe website, my question is, what was the point of blocking me on Instagram? It's not like people don't already send me updates on a consistent basis, or that I couldn't just access the account from a friend's phone. What is there to hide on the public pages of Miss Teen USA and Miss USA? Also, let's not forget how since Anne took ownership of the Miss Universe organization, that she has emphasized the importance of transparency, and that during Paula Shugard's farewell speech, when she announced her resignation, she also talked about transparency within an organization. Was the point of blocking me to silence me or to reprimand me? Does silencing the voices and opinions of those who you disagree with align with the mission to inspire all women and empower them? Is female empowerment limited only to those voices that tell you what you want to hear? The irony of all of this to me is that I devoted 7 years of my life to an organization that encouraged me and many others to form our own opinions and to articulate our thoughts. And now I feel like the message that is being sent to me and others is that it's okay to have your own opinion as long as it doesn't differ from ours. I feel it's really important to speak out about things like this and to use your voice and to use your platform to talk about these things and to discuss these things in a civil way. Because in life, I really believe that how you do anything is how you do everything. Think about it. People who are dedicated and devoted and kind, they're going to display those qualities in every single thing that they do in life. It's going to be their approach. But if you think about the flip side of that, if somebody is cutting corners or if they're dishonest, then that's how they're going to be operating in all areas of their life. You can't help it. It flows over, whether personally or professionally. I want to share that in my personal opinion, which I'm entitled to have, and you're entitled to have as well, that I don't feel like what we're seeing happen in the Miss USA organization is a sign of growth. I'm going to share with you one example, and I'm sure there's many more. This year, Miss USA and Miss Teen USA did not attend the official New York Fashion Week. You may be thinking, what? You're crazy. No, I saw it on Instagram. Let me explain the distinction. IMG Endeavor coordinates New York Fashion Week. Only designers that are a part of what we call the shows are a part of the official New York Fashion Week. So when you're in New York, you're gonna see banners. They're black and they're gonna say New York Fashion Week. There's only a certain number of designers that are actually a part of that official New York Fashion Week. Everyone else can create their own fashion show, but just because you have a fashion show during New York Fashion Week, it does not mean you are a part of, quote unquote, the shows. If you want to know who's a part of the shows, you can check out the list of this on the official NewYorkFashionWeek.com website. Even before IMG purchased the Miss Universe organization, Miss Teen USA, Miss USA, and Miss Universe attended the shows front row. They were even invited as speakers at what is called the Talks. The Talks happen every year and it's based on a number of different topics, and they bring in all sorts of people from the fashion industry to speak at the highly publicized talks. I was personally disappointed to see that Uma Sophia and Noelia did not attend the talks this year or the shows. I feel that that's not a step forward for the organization and its title holders. It's a step backwards. How were we once invited to these events and now we're completely excluded? I share this to say that Miss USA in its current state just isn't what it was back when I aspired to be Miss USA. I always hope that contestants, sponsors, and supporters of any organization pay attention to changes within the organization. Because the reality is that once you become a part of the organization and you sign a contract, for that year, you won't be able to speak out if you're having experiences that you are less than satisfied with. But because I'm not on the payroll of Miss USA and Miss Universe, I can share about these things. Those of you who've supported this channel for a long time also understand that I devoted 7 years of my life to the dream of becoming Miss USA because of the opportunities that I believed the Miss USA organization provided. And I would say that for me, I took advantage of every one of those opportunities that was set forth in front of me because I grew up struggling financially. I grew up under difficult circumstances that children should never have to experience. And I always say that pageantry taught me how to dream. It opened up my world. It opened up my worldview. That's what I love about pageantry. And that's why I'm continually giving back to this entire industry in any way that I can and trying to contribute and help other women. I love that Michelle Obama quote where she said, once a door has been opened to you, hold it open for the next person. And that's why I share the lessons that I've learned on this channel freely. Because I know when I was starting to compete in pageants, I never would have been able to afford this information from a coach. It just was not possible for me at the time. And I don't want a lack of access to stop other young women from achieving their goals in life, or even from pursuing their goals in life. If I were in your shoes and I was thinking about competing for this organization or any others, there's certain things that I consider. And these are things that I talk about with my clients all the time. Consider how an organization is managing their title holders and utilizing their unique skills and talents. Think about the quality of the opportunities that the organization is facilitating for you, and are those opportunities that are actually getting you to that next step in life, or are these opportunities that you can create for yourself? Also, are they delivering on the promises of their prize package in a reasonable amount of time? And How do they treat their former title holders? Lastly, I want to reiterate that none of this is personal to me. For me, it just comes with the territory of being a public figure or a public organization. With that being said, I am more than happy to welcome Lela Rose on the channel for an interview so that she can share why these parts of the prize package have not been delivered yet, why Miss USA didn't walk or didn't attend the shows at New York Fashion Week, why she doesn't have her car, what positive changes or measurable growth should we be expecting to see from the organization, and also what can we be expecting to see for the rest of Noelia and Uma Sophia's year? What are the things that other potential contestants and title holders have to look forward to? Finally, I'll just say that as much as I critique a pageant, I would much rather praise a pageant because of my association to the pageant industry. I want to see every organization doing its best and offering the highest quality competition, experiences, and reign for their contestants, their title holders, their sponsors, and of course, all of their viewers. This is why, in addition to creating predictions and recaps, I'll continue to share about news related to pageantry and any organization, which I always do, in regards to any changes in rules, eligibility, or any news regarding these organizations as these announcements are rolled out. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope that you chose to subscribe and that you'll be back for lots more. I'll definitely keep you posted.